signing of the Constitution, our founding fathers fundamentally altered the relationship between government and its citizens. The Constitution of the United States of America decreed that its citizens were born with equal rights and opportunities to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The most significant contribution of the Constitution to mankind is that it guaranteed individual rights. The Constitution also set up a framework within which its citizens have the means and the responsibility to govern themselves. Three branches of government that would provide a balance of power. The ultimate balance of power, however, was reserved to the people, the citizens, the community of informed individuals who use the ballot box and vote. Every citizen in the United States is a part of and can participate in the election of three levels of government: the federal, state, and local. Each of these levels of government has an executive, a legislative, and a judicial branch. On the federal level, we elect the President and Vice President of the United States for the executive branch. Within each state, citizens elect 2 United States senators and a number of representatives to the legislative branch called the Congress. The number of representatives sent to Congress depends on the population of the state. Judges on the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, are appointed by the President and approved with the advice and consent of the United States Senate. On the state level, citizens elect a governor and a lieutenant governor for the executive branch, state senators and assembly members for the legislative branch, and a state attorney general and judges for the judicial branch. All citizens are also a part of a local level of government, the city, town, village, or community in which they live. In New York City, we elect a mayor and a public advocate as our executives, members of the city council as our local legislature, a district attorney, and judges for the judicial branch. One of the ways to learn about government is to meet with government officials and ask them about their duties and responsibilities. To help us understand the duties and responsibilities of the City Council, we invited the Speaker of the City Council, Speaker Peter Vallone, to answer some of our questions. Welcome to PS 171, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can you please tell us a little about your job?
Sure. I'm the council member that was elected by your parents and people over 18 years of age who live in Astoria and Long Island City to represent you at City Hall with Mayor Giuliani. Now, so I'm the local council member from Astoria and Long Island City. And then there are a lot of council members like me. There are 50 others, 51 of us all together. And we all come from a different part of New York City. I come from Astoria, some come from Harlem, some come from the Bronx, some come from Staten Island, some come from Manhattan. But all of us represent the same amount of people. And now they get together and they elect one person to be speaker. And I was elected by all of them to be the Speaker of the City of New York. And that means that I speak for all the rest of the council members when I go to see Mayor Giuliani, like I did this morning, to tell him what the council has decided are our priorities for the City of New York.
Like, you want to pass a law. What if the mayor doesn't approve of it?
Well, it's just like the president. You see, the way this country is divided up is into what we call 3 separate but equal branches of government. You have a president, and you have a governor, and you have a mayor. They're all on the executive side. They have to carry out the laws. Who passes the laws? You have a Congress, on the federal level, a state legislature, and in the greatest city in the world, New York City, you have a city council. So the mayor is the chief executive. The city council passes the laws that the mayor has to carry out, but they have to be balanced. One can't be stronger than the other. And if they fight and have a dispute, we don't go to war anymore, like they used to do 200 years ago. We go to where? What's the third branch of government? Where do you go if you have an argument? Where?
No.
Court. You're right. Court. Very good. You go to court. And that's what a court is for. It's the third branch of government.
When the council holds public hearings, may everyone come to speak?
You have to notify them that you want to speak, because you can only have a certain amount of speakers at one meeting. And what they do is the first people that sign up are allowed to speak. And if the hearing ends before you have a chance to speak, then you have to come back again at another meeting. So we listen to the people who testify at the public hearings, and we change the bill not to make everybody happy, but to make as many people as we can happy.
Thank you, Speaker Valon. We appreciate your coming today to help our young students understand the role of the City Council in New York City's government.
Thank you, Ron. It was very nice to be here, and thank you very much for being such a nice audience.
The mayor is the highest elected official in New York City. It is his responsibility to see that all the agencies and departments run smoothly and provide necessary services. To help him run the city, the mayor appoints a number of commissioners. Our guest today is the Commissioner of the Department of Business Services, Commissioner Rudy Washington. Welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Washington, how did you first become Commissioner of Business Services?
I would have to go back to my freshman year in college, believe it or not. I had a project, and the project was to do a community project, and I got involved in establishing a daycare center, providing services for people in a community. So I got involved in daycare as a project, and I began to believe in what I was doing. We opened a daycare center, and the daycare center was servicing, I think 101 kids. And in the interim, I got involved with some people called politicians. And lo and behold, somebody said to me one day, we should run you for office. You know a lot of people in the community. I ran for office and I won. And I was a state committeeman. We worked out of Albany. And I still continued to do what I was doing. I still had my business, and I was still involved in daycare, and I was still working with the YMCA and working with the Boy Scouts and working with the homeless, and just involved in everything. I was heavily involved in my church, and some of you might say, this guy is crazy, but I was doing it, and you don't even think about it, you just do it because people ask for help, and if you're in a position to help, you help.
Commissioner Washington, what do you like best about your job, and what is the hardest part about the job?
That's a good question. The hardest part about the job, owning your own business, you wake up one morning and you say, I'm going to do this, and you just go do it. Working in city government, you wake up one morning and you say you're going to do something, and you spend the next 6 months trying to do it. The most rewarding part of the job is when you said to yourself, we're going to put a market over here, and 6 months later it happens.
Mr. Washington, what do you consider the most important problem, and what would you do to solve this problem?
The problem facing the country and the problem facing the city today, in my opinion, and I'm speaking from the economic side of the house, the most important thing we must do as a country is job creation. If we can do that, we can create jobs that pay enough money that a person can rent an apartment, buy food for themselves. What happens is that people get off welfare. They don't need it anymore. They get off Medicaid because they can provide services for themselves. And all the services that the state and the city and the federal government has to provide for people, people can provide for themselves. And not only that, when a person works, it creates a sense of pride. And when they buy something that their hard-earned money went into, a house, let's say, or an apartment, he or she's going to take care of it. It's theirs. They work for it. There's something to be said for working for something. But we in government are charged with the responsibility of creating the opportunity for New Yorkers to at least get a job. We have to provide that opportunity.
Commissioner Washington, if we wish to get involved in city affairs, perhaps even run for office, how can we participate and how can we prepare ourselves?
If you think you don't like what your elected official is doing, and if you think and believe that you can do a better job, then try. There's nothing wrong in that. That's what this system is set up for. This system is set up for you. That if you don't believe in what your elected officials are doing, you don't think they're doing the right thing, you don't think they're running government the way you think it should be ran, then go for it. Run for office. See who will support you. The only thing that can happen is that you don't make it. So what? Rest assured, you're going to fall down in life, and it's not a sin to fall down. You get right up and knock the dirt off you and keep going. It's a sin to lay there. So if you don't believe in what you see happening politically, try and change it. And you'll be surprised at the change you'll make on the system.
I'm Beverly Burke, chairman of our League of Women Voters Film Committee. You've added greatly to our students' understanding of government.
Taxes are collected from citizens to pay for the services provided by the government. In order to ensure that the money is spent for what it is intended, citizens elect a controller to monitor monetary transactions on the state level as well as the city level. Mr. Alan Hevesy is the controller of New York City. Welcome to PS 171. Please tell us something about your duties as controller.
Well, first, Ann, thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here. This is a terrific program, this Television and Communications Center. I'm particularly delighted to be joined by the League of Women Voters, a group of citizens who for 75 years, in a nonpartisan way, have enhanced our democracy by getting people involved in politics and campaigning. What does a controller do? Well, a controller is supposed to stand back half a step from the political debate between mayors and city councils, between governors and state legislatures, to make sure that money is spent properly, that the money that the city of New York has, in my case, is managed well, that we invest our money appropriately. We do the accounting and auditing for the city. We make sure each agency that is spending money does it right. We get involved in policy issues. I enforce the labor law. I do a lot of things with a staff of 840 people.
Where does the money to run the city come from and how do you keep track of it?
The money comes mostly from taxes, and there's a whole variety of taxes. We tax businesses, we tax personal income, we tax property if somebody owns a home or an apartment, we tax that. We have a sales tax so that every time you buy something at an amusement store, it's likely that there'll be a couple of pennies extra for taxes so that we can pay for our schools and our police and our firefighters and so on.
Do you advise the mayor, and do you have any say in the making of city budget and how the money is spent?
Yeah, I meet regularly with the mayor, and we discuss a variety of issues every Monday morning. Even though I don't work for the mayor, I'm independently elected, and even though, by the way, we're of different political parties, we try to operate without consideration of politics or parties. We're trying to make the city run. I don't vote on the budget, but I am required by the city charter to comment on the budget, to analyze what goes into it. That if the mayor thinks that next year the revenues are going to be such and such a number, it is my job to make sure that those numbers are real. And that if the mayor thinks a program is going to work, it's our job to monitor to make sure it does work. And we will be issuing a report in just a few days about the mayor's current budget suggestions, agreeing with some of his suggestions, disagreeing with others. So we play the role of a budget monitor. So if you were interested in politics, I would learn about it, study about it. You'll have it thrown at you along with your arithmetic and math and computers and language. You'll have government or you'll have social studies. And you test yourself whether you're really interested in this stuff. It's history and it's government.
I'm Marjorie Ferrigno, member of the League of Women Voters, and on behalf of the League, I want to thank you for joining us in educating our future voters and inspiring them in a very unique way. Thank you so very much, Mr. Hebbett.
You're very welcome. I wanted to
To learn more about the duties of the Borough President, we visited Queensborough Hall and met with Queensborough President Claire Shulman.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mrs. Shelton. Right, you know my name is Claire Shulman. I'm the Borough President of Queens. I'm happy to welcome you here this morning so that we can discuss local government.
What does a Borough President do?
Well, a Borough President does a lot of things. The Borough President in general is an advocate for the borough. We work with the mayor on the budget with regard to capital construction and the expense budget. Capital budget builds your schools and your police stations and your firehouses and your streets. The expense budget pays your teachers' salaries and pays the policemen and the men that pick up your garbage during the week. And so we work with the mayor on that. We also work on land use issues. For example, if a person wanted to build something on a piece of property, say he wanted to build in your one-family or two-family neighborhood the Empire State Building, he wouldn't be able to do that without getting permission from a variety of different city agencies, one of which is the Borough President's office.
What do you like best about your job, and what is the hardest part about your job?
I also like to provide programs that people need. I love to do cultural affairs because I think that gives a lot of people who live in this borough, and incidentally, this is the most diverse borough in the United States of America, the borough of Queens. There are about 100 different ethnic groups here and about 170 different languages and dialects spoken in the borough of Queens. And the reason I like to do cultural affairs is because it gives every group an opportunity to tell everybody else what their cultural heritage is and how proud they are of it, and give everyone an experience from a country that they've never been to.
Busy as you are, why did you agree to come and meet us and be interviewed?
Well, first of all, I think that it is very important for young people to learn as much as they can about the world around them. And I consider that an important function of the office. I meet with young people all the time. I have a high school group that meets here every month or so. You ought to be well informed on as many issues that you consider important. And I think you ought to read the newspapers. I'm sure it's part of your curriculum in school, just to know what's going on in your own neighborhood, in your city, in your country, and in other parts of the world. One of the things that is really important if you want to go into public life is that you must have the information. If you don't have it, you can't perform a service. So you have to know a lot of things. And so what you ought to be doing at your age is learning as much as possible about your environment, the town you live in, the county, the city, the country, and the world. But I will tell you that you cannot do anything, really do anything, unless you learn to speak, write, and understand the English language. You must be very literate. You must be able to write good sentences. You must be able to express yourself. It's very hard to advocate for a position if you can't express yourself. So everybody must learn how to read and write properly. That is basic. And I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters who have for 75 years focused on education for young people and have focused on citizen involvement. The ultimate responsibility that you will have eventually is voting. And you should know if you're going to go in there and vote. And everybody has a responsibility to vote. Everybody has a responsibility to vote. But you also have a responsibility to know what you're voting for. So that's why I'm never too busy to speak to young people. And because I think that you are the future, and it is really behooves us to make sure that your future is secure.
I'm Enola Phillips from the League of Women Voters of New York City, the Southeast Queens branch. And we want to thank you, Burr Schulman, for this wonderful event with PS 171 of Long Island City. I think it's a wonderful experience and to learn about government. And we want to stay involved, we want to stay informed, and we certainly will vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.